The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please come to the floor and take their seats. All members of this House will come to the floor and take their seats. We're going to have the morning roll call shortly. Mr. Clerk, would you ring the bell? All members will please come to the floor and take their seats. We're about to have the morning roll call. We're going to have the call of the roll. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? Chairman Setzler, I will direct that the clerk's office mark you as present. I'm not sure what the issue is with your machine. Clerk will lock the machine. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. Nice, brisk day. People coming to watch their government at work, and we're happy to have them. So we got a lot of work to get done here today. We will begin our day with a scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 147th House District, Representative Heath Clark. Representative Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and fellow members of the House. Today it is my pleasure to introduce my friend and my pastor, Ryan Lyons. He is joined today by a fellow staff member at Sojourn, Evan Akers, and his friend who is the pastor of Journey Church in Griffin, Georgia, Michael Moody. I have known Ryan just about my whole life. We grew up playing Pee Wee football together at Robins Air Force Base. And then after graduating from Winter Robins High School, he received his Bachelor of Arts from Bruton Parker College. He went on and received his Master of Divinity from the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky, and is in the final stages of completion of his PhD from Southern Seminary as well. After serving as lead pastor in a few churches during college and seminary, he moved to Milledgeville in May of 2010 in order to plant New City Church Milledgeville. And then in March of 2012, he moved to Warner Robins in order to become the lead pastor of what is now Sojourn Church. Ryan is married to his high school sweetheart, Lori, and they have been married for 12 years and have 3 kids, Michael, who is 8, Caitlin, 6, and Slade, 4. House, I introduce my pastor, Ryan Lyons.
It's truly an honor to take just a moment to be able to speak to you today. And I want to begin just by thanking all of you legislators for what you do. What you do is hard. Oftentimes you face lots of heavy criticism, sometimes really unfair. You constantly are having people, well-meaning, most of them, who are wanting you to take up their particular cause. And while I understand, especially talking to Heath, that this is part of the job, it's still difficult at times. And so thank you for what you do. What you're doing is incredibly important. And I know that I, for one, am thankful for the efforts that you're putting into this as you represent your constituents. Most of you here, all of you, I would venture to say, especially the legislators, you're here because in some form or another you believe in freedom. And I understand completely that freedom may be defined a little bit differently by different people in this room. But nonetheless, if you're here as a legislator, it's because you believe in freedom. You want to cultivate it. You want to preserve it for your constituents. And this morning, I want to talk about a kind of freedom that can't be achieved through a political process. In other words, I want to remind you that there's something that we'll call an ultimate freedom. It's the kind of freedom that can't be achieved by any particular candidate, no matter how much you may agree with their agenda, and it can't be achieved through political processes. Now, the freedom that I'm talking about is what I'll call gospel freedom. The gospel that I hold to as a Christian is the good news that God has done for us in Christ what we could not do for ourselves. The gospel is not news about what you need to do in order to experience God's grace and acceptance, but the gospel is the good news about what God has done in order that you may receive and experience God's grace and acceptance. And so the gospel isn't ultimately about what you need to do, it's about what God has done for us. And when those of us who call ourselves Christians and we embrace that gospel, the Bible says that there's an ultimate freedom that's ours. And the ultimate freedom that I'm talking about are things like this. It's freedom from the fear of future judgment. It's freedom from guilt and shame. It's freedom from a fear of the future. In fact, in Revelation 21, we're reminded of these words about what's ultimately to come for all who believe this gospel that's rooted in the sinless life and the sacrificial death and the victorious resurrection of Jesus. Revelation 21:4 says that there's coming a day when He, that's Jesus, will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, because the former things have passed away. And as you today venture out to do the work that you've been called to do, the work that you've been elected to do, I encourage you to keep in mind that as you pursue freedom on behalf of your constituents, that you give a moment of consideration to the fact that ultimate freedom has already been accomplished through the greatest freedom fighter of all, the Lord Jesus Christ. And that ultimate freedom is available to all who ultimately trust in Him. Let's pray together. Father, I want to thank you for these officials who are here today, those in the gallery as well. And I thank you for their commitment to serving our great state. Father, I pray for their families. I know that this is a season in which they're often away, and I pray, God, that you would give their families grace and peace and comfort as they're away from them, doing this work that they've been called to do. God, I pray that you would grant each of these legislators today and every day wisdom and a clear conscience so that they make decisions and cast votes accordingly. And Father, most importantly, I want to thank you for the ultimate freedom that's available through the Lord Jesus Christ, through the good news of His sinless life, sacrificial death, and victorious resurrection. May this freedom be our ultimate source of joy and hope now and forevermore. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's pledge allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes the Chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, Chairman Chokas.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journals of the previous legislative day and have found them to be correct.
Chairman Chokas, the Chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The Chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, on the 59th moves the following be established as the order of business in the first part of the unanimous consent. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, report of standing committees, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 945 by Representative Chokas, the 138th bill being titled an act to amend an act creating the Schley County Utilities Authority.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 946 by Representative Spencer, the 180th, Wilkinson of the 52nd, a bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to elections and primaries generally.
Governmental affairs.
House Bill 947 by Representative Corbett of the 174th, a bill being titled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the probate court of Eccles County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 948 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 42-9-90 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating the application fee required for transfer consideration.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 949 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, Tarvin of the 2nd, Jaspers of the 11th, Lumsden of the 12th, and Epps of the 144th. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 9 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating the illegal use of financial transactions cards.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 950 by Representative Bennett of the 94th, Benson of the 31st, Abrams of the 89th, Chandler of the 105th, Hughley of the 36th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 15-11-211 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to a relative search by the Division of Family and Children's Services.
Judiciary.
House Bill 951 by Representative Nimmer of the 178th, Powell of the 171st, Abrams of the 89th, Dickey of the 140th, Rogers of the 10th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 48-8-3 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to exemptions from state sales and use taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 952 by Representative Nimmer, the 178th, Dickey, the 140th, Rogers, the 10th, Coomer, the 14th, Carter, the 175th. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to professions and businesses.
Small Business Development.
House Bill 953 by Representative Mitchell, the 88th, Smyrie, the 135th, Stevens, the 165th, Howard of the 124th, Frazier, the 126th, and others. The bill being titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 1A of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to general provisions relative to early care and learning.
Education.
House Bill 954 by Representative F. Strachan of the 104th, Cooper, the 43rd, Abrams of the 89th, England of the 116th, Trammell of the 132nd, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 29 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to guardian and ward.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 955 by Representative Yates of the 73rd, Flood of the 64th, Maber of the 63rd. The bill being titled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Fayette County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 956 by Representative Reeves, the 34th, Stevens, the 164th, Hawkins, the 27th, Harrell, the 106th, Carter, the 175th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the imposition rate and computation of and exemptions from state income taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 957 by Representative Abrams of the 89th, Effenbaugh the 1st, Bentley of the 139th, and Sharp of the 177th. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 9 of Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to costs and compensation regarding the probate courts.
Judiciary.
House Bill 958 by Representative Jones of the 47th, Willard of the 51st, Golick of the 40th, Raffensperger of the 50th, Cantrell of the 22nd, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend an act providing for the establishment of a countywide library system in Fulton County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 959 by Representative Beskin of the 54th, Dungeon of the 25th, Coleman of the 97th, Nix of the 69th, and Clark of the 101st, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to education.
Education.
House Bill 960 by Representative Kelly, the 16th, Sims, the 123rd, Dempsey, the 13th, Harrell, the 106th, Houston, of the 170th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to state administration and collection of revenue.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 961 by Representative Abrams, the 89th, Benton, the 31st, Sharp, of the 177th, and Bennett of the 94th. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions applicable to social services.
Juvenile Justice.
House Bill 962 by Representative Abrams, the 89th, Dempsey, the 13th, Bentley, the 31st, Hughley of the 136th, Sharper of the 177th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 2 of Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the development of Department of Human Services generally.
Juvenile Justice.
House Bill 963 by Representative Abrams, the 89th, Benton, the 31st, Abstration of the 104th, Hughley of the 136th, Willard of the 51st, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 19 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to child custody proceedings.
Juvenile Justice.
House Bill 964 by Representative Glanton, the 75th, Frazier of the 126th, Abrams of the 89th, Hughley of the 136th, Dawkins, Hagler of the 91st, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to elections.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 965 by Representative Chokus of the 138th, Burns of the 159th, Smyrie of the 135th, Dawkins, Hagler of the 91st, Greene of the 151st, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 24, Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general insurance provisions.
Insurance.
House Bill 966 by Representative Caldwell, the 131st, Buckner, the 137th, Willard of the 51st, Wilkinson, the 52nd, Quick of the 117th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 7 and Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the control of soil erosion and sedimentation.
Natural Resources and Environment.
House Bill 967 by Representative Epps of the 144th. Bill being titled an act to amend the act entitled Macon Water Commissioners Pension Plan.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Resolution 1311 by Representative Chandler of the 105th, Cassius of the 107th, Clark of the 101st, Bentley of the 139th, Kelly of the 16th, and others. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on College Course Credit.
Special Rules.
House Resolution 1312 by Representative Sims of the 123rd, Blackman of the 146th, Coomer of the 14th, Clark of the 101st, O'Donoghue the 30th. A resolution authorizing the change of use of certain property located in Houston County.
State Properties.
House Resolution 1313 by Representative Glanton of the 75th, Frazier of the 126th, Abrams of the 89th, Hughley of the 136th, Scott of the 76th, and others. Resolution urging local boards of education to avoid scheduling any high school graduation or matriculation ceremonies or commencements on the same day that the general primary election is held.
Education.
Senate Bill 255 by Senator Stone of the 23rd, Bethel of the 54th, Miller of the 40th, Albers of the 56th, Ligon of the 3rd, and others. A bill being titled an act to amend Title 18 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to debtor and creditor.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 307 by Senator Beach of the 21st, Williams of the 19th, Butler of the 55th, Barron of the 42nd, Gooch of the 51st. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 32-6-51 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to erection, placement, or maintenance of unauthorized structures.
Transportation.
That completes the first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 929 by Representative Earhart of the 36th, a bill relating to elections. HB 930 by Representative Allison of the 8th, a bill to provide a new charter for the city of Blairsville. HB 931 by Representative Drenner of the 85th, a bill relating to procedure for changing any rate, charge classification, or service or recovery of financial costs. HB 932 by Representative Taylor of the 173rd, a bill to authorize the governing authority of Thomas County to levy an excise tax. HB 933 by Representative Epps of the 144th, a bill to amend the Macon Water Commissioners Pension Plan. HB 934 by Representative Kirby of the 114th, a bill relating to general provisions applicable to social services. HB 935 by Representative Harrell of the 106th, a bill relating to exemptions from ad valorem tax. HB 936 by Representative Harrell of the 106th, a bill relating to imposition rate computation and exemptions from income taxes. HB 937 by Representative Harrell of the 106th, a bill relating to exemptions from state sales and use tax. HB 938 by Representative Prince of the 127th, a bill relating to tax sales, HB 939 by Representative Price of the 48th, a bill relating to set-off debt collection, HB 940 by Representative Gilligan of the 24th, a bill to amend the Forsyth County Civil Service System Act, creating the Forsyth County Civil Service System, HB 941 by Representative Golick of the 40th, a bill relating to juries, pretrial proceedings, and miscellaneous offenses concerning public officers and employees, HB 942 by Representative Sharper of the 177th, a bill relating to compulsory attendance in elementary and secondary education, HB 943 by Representative Rogers of the 29th, a bill relating to illegal and void contracts, HB 944 by Representative Gilligan of the 24th, a bill relating to health, Senate Bill 278 by Senator Unterman of the 45th, a bill relating to penalties for violating Code Section 16-6-9 through 16-6-12, Senate Bill 283 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th, a bill relating to accounting for public funds, through second readers.
Reports of standing committees, the clerk will read.
Representative Shannon Cooper, the 43rd District Chairman of the Committee on Health and Human Services, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Health and Human Services had under consideration the following bills of the House and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 588 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 783 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 826 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 886 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 902 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Sharon Cooper, Chairman. Representative Smith of the 134th District, Chairman of the Committee on Insurance, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Insurance has had under consideration the following bills of the House and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 555 do pass by substitute. House Bill 882 do pass by substitute. House Bill 883 do pass by substitute. House Bill 838 do pass. House Bill 884 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Smith, Chairman. Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination, Local, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination has had under consideration the following bills of the House and the Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 888 do pass. House Bill 890 do pass. House Bill 925 do pass. House Bill 930 do pass. House Bill 932 do pass. House Bill 940 do pass. Senate Bill 315 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Jan Tankersley, Chairman. Representative Wendell Willard of the 51st District, Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following bills of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Bill 757 do pass by substitute. House Bill 762 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 849 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Wendell Willard, Chairman. Representative Powell, the 32nd District Chairman of the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security has had under consideration the following bills of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 166 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 777 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 764 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 993 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Powell, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
House will be in order. House will be in order. Chair recognizes the chairman of the House Rules Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, there will be a Rules Committee meeting immediately in 341.
Rules Committee is going to meet, I understand, for a fairly brief period of time. House will be in recess till 11:15.
where I have signed?
Okay, I understand the Rules Committee has completed their work. Mr. Clark, how about ringing the bell and let's get everybody back in and get back to work. House will come back to order. House will be back in order. Chair recognizes to introduce the doctor of the day, the chairman of the House Education Committee, Chairman Brooks Coleman. Chairman Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, so happy today to have with us our doctor of the day, and this is his 5th time here, and appreciate him being here. It's Dr. Indran Krishna. He is a gastroenterologist practicing in Gwinnett County. His practice is in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I won't spend a lot of time telling you what to do because he's very, very well certified. But what I'd like to talk about is what he's done for this community. He has a special passion for the prevention of colon cancer, and he also cares about people and to see that people are well fed. And he's been involved in a lot of movements to try to provide food and health care and protection for people in India. But one thing I want to say about him that I think is most important, he just received one of the most greatest honors that anyone could receive from the Indian community, the Bharat Good, pronounce that for me. And he got this beautiful award for his service that he's done. Many celebrities like Mother Teresa and many others have received this award. So I'm very proud of him for what he's done. I'm very proud that he's one of my constituents. I'm very proud that he's our doctor of the day, and he's a great friend, and I'm so proud of what he's done to involve the Indian community and to involve them into the Gwinnett County community and into our state. So let's give a big welcome to our doctor of the day, Dr. Krishna.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to serve you today, and also thank you for what you do to our Georgian community. I really appreciate. Thank you, Speaker, and thank you, Brooks. Appreciate. And all of you are in a different moods after election last night, and both parties, there are happy campers and losers. Let me take your attention to a different topic, colon cancer. Why colon cancer? Because I'm a gastroenterologist. That is my specialty. Few words about colon cancer in the next few minutes. Colon cancer is second or at least third common cancer out of all the cancers in terms of killing our country people. Same time, this is the same cancer, easily preventable, curable, and treatable. Then why a lot of people are dying from this cancer? Because it's a silent killer. You don't have any symptoms. It's easily preventable too. It's not, if checked, it can be cured and treated. And more importantly, it can be prevented by removing what we call polyps in the colon wall. The large bowel has minor, small growths, something similar to like a smaller cauliflower or mushroom size growths. They are benign, harmless, but if you let it grow for a longer period of time, they have a potential turning into cancer. So when you undergo this test called colonoscopy, and as a part of the physical at the age of 50, or sooner when there's a family history, these polyps can be removed in a minute or two and prevent the cancer. So I recommend the legislators for you to talk to your constituents about importance of preventing the diseases, mainly colon cancer. I'm very happy to tell you that Governor Nathan Deal, for the last 3 years, been declaring March as a colon cancer awareness. At my request, I made the request in 2014. He did it within a month. He did last year again, and this year again. He did it just a little while ago. He did declare the proclamation of March as a colon cancer awareness. So that's my message to you today, in a bipartisan message, to talk to your constituents about colon cancer prevention and also other diseases too. Prevention is very important. The entire world, this country pays more attention to prevention. People do not talk about colon cancer anywhere in the world. They just talk about catching diseases when they have a problem, not prevention. And we are very good at preventing the diseases. That's all about this country's healthcare. And thank you so much again. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We're going on now to morning orders. We're going on to morning orders. House will come to order. I'm going to ask all of the members of this body to give attention and respect to the members in the well. Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Jason Spencer. Representative Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in the spirit of education, but also to correct the record regarding the spaceport project in Camden County. What provoked me to come to the well this morning was an article in the Brunswick News that conveys a serious piece of false information under the headline, "Larger Rockets Could Come to Spaceport." And in particular, the article states the following: the closest residential home is about a half mile from the launch site. This is an absolute misstatement made by the Brunswick News, and I felt like I had to correct the record. There's been a lot of discussion about spaceport, and therefore a lot of misinformation, and there's a necessary debate and discourse back at home that has to happen. But unfortunately, when statements like this get out into the media and in print, it causes confusion, and it makes the histrionics that are already injected into this important conversation just a little bit more disruptive. So here are the facts. This project is heavily regulated by the FAA, and it's a very rigorous process. The FAA has never approved a launch with a residential home or business that is that close to a launch site. That would never happen. The closest residential home is about 5 miles from the proposed launch site, not 1/2. The 1/2 statement in the Brunswick News would actually be in the 2-mile radius hazard area. So that needs to be corrected. The rockets used in the commercial space industry are actually getting smaller. They're not getting larger. The satellites are getting smaller. The payloads are getting smaller. That's the truth. And here's a rule of thumb about noise. Rocket noise in particular. The power of noise drops about 8 to 9 decibels for every doubling of the distance from the noise source. So I personally live about 7.5 miles from the proposed launch site. So by the time that noise reaches my front yard, it's going to be like my riding lawnmower going off in my front yard. That's going to last about 2 minutes. The proposed FAA licensure requirement that the Camden County Spaceport Project is going for is a maximum of 12 launches a year. They may not get to 12 launches a year. But I would tell you, those of you who live on the coast and have been down to coastal Georgia, during the summer, those thunderstorms are about 120 decibels, and they happen just about every single day. So I wanted to put that into perspective for members. And I would also urge the Brunswick News, if you're going to write about my legislation, please call me and do an interview before you write an article. Please get the who, the when, the what, and the why, basics of journalism. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes Representative Oliver for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are blessed in Georgia to be the home of Coca-Cola, and Robert Woodruff conveyed extensive resources for scholarships to Emory. I'm very pleased today to have the Emory Scholars with us in the gallery. This is a very old scholarship program that brings people here internationally and from every state in the country. We're proud of you. Thank you for being Georgians with us today. Please recognize our Emory Scholars in the gallery.
Chair recognizes Representative Hardin for a morning order. Representative Buddy Hardin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to make a real quick announcement that's very important to everybody in here. Tonight at 5 o'clock down at the depot, the people from Crisp County and Cordele are going to be cooking catfish for everybody in here. And you don't want to miss that. And let me tell you, an easy way to remember it, you found on your desk this morning a little thing you can stick to the back of your cell phone. And go ahead and stick that on there because it's got a reminder about the fish fry. Then after the fish fry, you can take that out and put your credit card there, whatever you want to. But you come down, see the folks, and thank them for that. And I want to recognize some of those folks in the gallery with us today, accompanied by, as Matt Hatchett said yesterday, the most important woman in my life, my wife, Linda. And I'm not going to tell you how many years she's put up with me, but would y'all stand and be recognized, please? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Peake for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank those of you who continue to support the cause of providing relief to some of our most vulnerable citizens. HB 722, the Medical Cannabis Cultivation Bill, or Haley's Hope Act, Part 2, as you know, would institute the tightly regulated and strictly controlled in-state cultivation of medical cannabis oil so that Georgians are not faced with an unbearable decision to risk breaking the law or see their loved ones suffer. I know our Sheriff's Association and our prosecuting attorneys have expressed concerns about this measure. And I know our governor has shared his wisdom on this topic as our state's chief executive, as well as a former prosecutor and judge. And I respect those who have raised concerns and will continue to work in good faith with them through this process. But I want to be real clear. It's been said in this debate that we stand at the summit of a slippery slope, that we will see the legalization of recreational marijuana cultivation or use as an inevitable eventuality if we move forward. I want to stand here today and say, without doubt or reservation, that legalizing marijuana for recreational purposes is not my intent, and that I will fight vigorously to make sure that that does not happen in our state. This is about providing some measure of comfort to those who endure pain on a scale few of us can imagine. This is about helping parents who cannot bear another day of watching their own child endure unending agony and suffering. This is for the grandmother who has MS. This is for the soccer mom who has a brain tumor. This is for the college student that has Crohn's disease. We are addressing the concerns many of you have expressed in the original version of HB 722, and we are working diligently with Chairman Rich Golick and the committee to perfect this bill, and I look forward to presenting it to you at the appropriate time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Werkheiser for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is Evans County Day, and Evans County is home of the Claxton Fruitcake, Claxton Poultry, who supplies Chick-fil-A with the chicken that we all enjoy. We have with us Mayors Terry Branch and Ferris Johnson, Executive Chamber Director Tammy Hall, IDA Director Michelle Pfeiffer, several administrators, county commissioners, city officials. Would love to name them all, but I can tell you this. I represent one of the greatest areas in the state of Georgia, and I also have the privilege of serving with the greatest legislative body in the state, and for that reason, I'm proud to announce I will not be running for Congress, but will be running to return here next year. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Erica Thomas for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and distinguished members of the House of Representatives. This morning, I have the moment in Black history. The Voting Rights Act, signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson on August 6, 1965, aimed to overcome legal barriers at the state and local levels that prevented African Americans from exercising their right to vote under the 15th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. And I will be reading an excerpt from Give Us the Ballot by Martin Luther King. Give us the ballot, and we will no longer have to worry the federal government about our basic rights. Give us the ballot, and we will no longer plead to the federal government for passage of the anti-lynching law. Give us the ballot, and we will fill our legislative halls with men of goodwill. Give us the ballot, and we will place judges on the benches of the South who will do justly and love mercy. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representatives Terry Rogers and Representative Dan Gasaway for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a lot of fun when people from home show up, and that's what happened to us today. We have a lot of our friends from Habersham County here today. And it's Habersham County Day at the Capitol, and we'd just like to take a minute to recognize them. We have Leadership Habersham and members of the Chamber of Commerce and other leaders, and I wish y'all would rise and give them a big welcome, please. And Representative Gasaway wants to step off for this one because this is a Georgia versus Georgia Tech thing. If you are a University of Georgia person, I have an invite resolution here commending Scott Warner for his induction into the College Football Hall of Fame. Please see me. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Scott for a morning order.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to the House of Representatives. Today, we have Clayton County Chamber of Commerce here with the interim president, Crystal Black, and the Lisa Smith for Government Affairs. If you're in the gallery, would you please stand? Welcome to your State House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Don Parsons for a morning order.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to call your attention. I had something put on the desk today. You probably have already heard about it in the news, or maybe you haven't had a chance to read what I put on the desk. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that yesterday the Supreme Court blocked implementation of the Environmental Protection Agency's rule on carbon. And this is very significant, and I'm not up here to talk about whether the rule is good or bad, but it is significant. And one of the significant parts of it is this means that the next president will have a say in whether or not to further defend that. And also, this is the first time it's my understanding that the EPA, or the Supreme Court has ever blocked an EPA rule. Very significant. Thank you, Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Alexander for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, we have a group of women here today, the Georgia Federation of Democratic Women. The Georgia Federation of Democratic Women is our state's branch of the National Federation of Democratic Women. GFDW has over a dozen regional chapters and has established Democratic women's clubs in various counties across the state. In terms of legislative power, GFDW holds one seat on the Democratic Party of Georgia's Executive Committee. GFDW also works to raise the political awareness of women in Georgia by providing female citizens with information about Georgia's politics and hosting events to sponsor discussions and civil engagement. The organization's website provides women with information on meetings in the legislature, summaries of important democratic issues, and directions on how to register to vote. If we could welcome the women that are in the gallery, if you would stand, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Nimmer for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it is my honor today to introduce to you Leadership Pierce. This is a group of community and business leaders from my hometown down in District 178. I want to draw your attention up to the balcony. Attendees of Leadership Pierce, if you would, please stand and be recognized. House, help me make them feel welcome. If you see them out in the hall, just remind them how great they are represented today and how lucky they are, please. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Tanner for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have another distinguished group with us today, and that's from my hometown, great friends and a great group of individuals, Leadership Dawson County. If you would stand up and be recognized. Leadership Dawson, thank you.
The representative failed to mention who also represents Dawson County. But I'm honored to. Chair recognizes Chairman Chokas for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a great day for Marion County today. I've got a group of students. I want y'all all to stand up. They're in the gallery. They're from the Young Farmers and the FFA. Leading the group is John Hagan, the ag teacher, FFA and Young Farmer advisor. We got Bill Hammonds, who's a Young Farmer teacher in Sumter County, right next door where I'm from. We've got, now wave, Kevin Wells is the president of Young Farmers. Is he up there? There you go. And then we've got Justin Turner, who is the president of FAA. So you please wave. Also in the gallery, we have, with the students, Wayne Jernigan, who's the assistant DA for Columbus. He and his wife, his lovely wife, Angel, were in town. I've got their daughter, Lily, paging for me. And Mackenzie, their son, is an FFA member as well. So thank you very much. Please join me in welcoming this young and talented and smart group of students from Marion County. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The House will continue to be in order. We're about to recognize some very distinguished guests with us today, I'm going to ask the clerk to read the caption to House Resolution 1140.
House Resolution 1140 by Representative Cooper, the 43rd, Taylor, the 173rd, Hawkins, the 27th, Price, the 48th, Jaspers, of the 11th, and others. A resolution recognizing and commending Georgia State University's Legislative Health Policy Certificate Program and Advanced Health Policy Institute and its instructors, and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, Chairman Sharon Cooper, for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm really honored to be back again this year, as I have for about the last 6 or 7 years, with representatives from the Andrew Young School of Health Policy at Georgia State University. I have Dr. Karen Minion with me, Ann Phillips, Dr. Sally Wallace, who is the Associate Dean at the Health Policy of the Andrew Young School of Policy, Rachel Forensic, and Julie Martin. They're the people who make possible a very special program just for legislators and our research analysts. This is a unique program. It's being copied by other legislatures across the United States, but we were the first to offer an in-depth course to help members of the Health Committee and the Health Appropriations Committee learn more and be better prepared to face the challenges that health issues that come before them. The course covers health financing, coverage, access to care, and a variety of other health issues. And I am very pleased to announce that 9 representatives and 2 House staff completed this program this year. We owe a special word of thanks to the Robert Wood Foundation. They usually don't refinance and give donations year after year. And this is where they've made an exception and have helped funded this. We also, as members of this House, owe a debt to the Speaker, because he's the one who allows us to continue this program and to make it possible for our members to attend. So, Mr. Speaker, I can't tell the people at Robert Woods Foundation thank you except over the air, but thank you so much. This is a really important program and a great learning experience. Thank you. Okay. And Dr. Minyard, if you would like to say just a brief word, and then I would like the members, and I'm going to call out who's getting their certificates, to meet us in the anteroom to receive your certificates. And this year it was Representative Karen Bennett, Representative Mike Chokas, Representative Pam Dickerson, Representative Demetrius Douglas, Representative Mike Glanton, Representative Scott Holcomb, Representative Carol Hughley, Representative Sheila Jones, Representative Pedro Martin, Representative Betty Price, Representative Nikki Randall, and Representative Dexter Sharper. We also had Roma Amin, Tara Bockholt, Christine Murdoch, Ashley Robinson, and Martin Wigton. And if you heard from the list of representatives, this is a bipartisan program and gives us a chance to work together. And with that, Dr. Minyard, if you'd like to say a word too.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, thank you so much for the partnership with the Georgia Health Policy Center. We have nearly 150 senators, representatives, and staff who have participated in this program over the years, and we look forward to the opportunity to do more. As Madam Chair said, this program has received some national recognition. Several other states have come to visit us and learn about this program and are piloting it in their states. And I have to say that Madam Chair is seen in other states as a leader because she's taken such a role in making this happen. And one of the things that they say is you have to have someone who's working in partnership to make something like this be successful. So thank you for all of your support.
No, I'm good. House will continue to be at order. House will continue to be at order. The clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1197.
House Resolution 1197 by Representative Coleman in the 97th, Chandler of the 105th, Rice the 95th, Clark of the 101st, Marin of the 96th, and others. A resolution congratulating the Duluth High School men's varsity soccer team for their victorious performance in the 2015 state championship and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the chair of the House Education Committee, Chairman Coleman, for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Happy to have with me today two other reps, Representative Tom Rice and Representative Pedro Moran. It's a real honor today, and just really excited about being here to recognize this group of young men, the coaches and the principal of one of the finest high schools in the state of Georgia, Duluth High School. Matter of fact, in 1962, that's where I started my teaching, y'all need to realize. 5th grade and 1st grade, was principal there. And I watched this school grow. This school now stands about 3,000 students. The school has over 52 languages spoken at that school. If you add the dialects, it's probably over 100 different dialects and languages spoken. But they made a great accomplishment this year. We want to honor this school because they did this last 2015. They won the 6A state championship in soccer. Yes, they did a great job. They went 20-2, their record. They played the state reigning champion, Brookwood High School, for the championship, beat them on Mercer's Field, and they beat them 2-0. And what's so interesting, the coach that I'll introduce in a few minutes of the high school team, he had coached at Brookwood, and it was bittersweet victory, but he was so happy because his son played on the Brookwood team that they defeated. So, Coach, we're glad, though, that Duluth pulled it off there. I'm happy to have with me today the principal, Anthony Smith. I'm the athletic director, Chris Kirkpatrick, their head coach, Adele Motion, and I'm also happy to have two players, the co-captains, Jose Larios, and I'd like to introduce Mitch McCurry. And Mr. Speaker, if you don't mind, they have a presentation for you.
I'd like to present you with this scarf.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
He is now officially a Duluth Wildcat. So I want to say the principal of the school, Anthony Smith, been there 21 years. 16 years in Gwinnett County and been 3 years at that school. And I think you need to know the school's not only the best academically, it's rated by World News and World Report, one of the top high schools in the nation. They have an orchestra. You need to realize their orchestra has 400 marching members. 400 in their orchestra, not band, but in their orchestra. A great job. Now the coach, I need to know, Adele Motion, 3 years at Duluth High School as a teacher in special education, 3 years head coach, the boys varsity soccer coach, 8 years of community coaching at Brookwood High, and he was a substitute in Gwinnett County school system teacher. Also 3 years at Andrew College as head coach for both men's and women's soccer. And he's trying something new this year. He is combining the men and women's soccer team together. They'll play separate, but he's coaching them both, and they're going to another victory. So at this time, I'd like to ask, if I may, Mr. Speaker, the principal to come forward and say a few words, then I'd like to present him this award.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Duluth High School and the Duluth and Gwinnett communities enjoy the great support of three representatives, Pedro Marin, Tom Price, and of course, Dr. Brooks Coleman, who is widely known around Duluth as Mr. Duluth. We're very proud of what these young men have accomplished. We have two captains with us here today and the remainder of our team up in the gallery. And so we congratulate them on what's happening on the playing field, but more importantly, what's happening in their life, in the community, and in the classroom. Would be remiss if I didn't also recognize the coaches and teachers who are here with us today, who are representative really of teachers across the state of Georgia, who aside from the parents in the home, have the most positive, most significant, and the most long-lasting impact on our children and our future here in Georgia. Thank you, teachers.
If we could, while we're here, I'd like for everyone in the audience, please now, to rise. Let's recognize one of the finest soccer teams in the state of Georgia and in the nation. Stand up, guys. Let us recognize you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
House will continue to be at order. House will continue to be at order. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1318.
House Resolution 1318 by Representatives Werkheiser, the 157th, and Drenner, the 85th. A resolution recognizing and honoring February 10, 2016 as New Americans Day at the Capitol and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes for an invite resolution Representative Bill Werkheiser. Representative Werkheiser.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. None of us can imagine living in fear if the next bomb shelling will be the one that levels our house to the ground, or worse yet, losing a family member at the hands of our own government. We have a group with us today who have legally gone through the process of becoming citizens of the United States and will complete that process in the rotunda today. After escaping horrendous situations, they've embarked on a journey to a new land which presents new problems. Today is New Americans Day at the Capitol. We will naturalize a group of new citizens today who will recite the Pledge of Allegiance with emotion that few of us can probably never realize. Today I have with me at the rostrum J.D. McCrary, Omar Shaki, and Victoria Hooney. So today we honor two groups of people, those who need assistance and those who are giving it. This is how it was supposed to work. Government was never intended to be the source of helping mankind. We were. The group you see today carrying the red bags represents the Coalition of Refugee Services Association. It is a coalition of organizations that come together to help these refugees become citizens, enroll in school, and find jobs. Please give our guests a round. I think most of them are rotunda, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Werkheiser. We want to invite everyone to the rotunda in actually just a few moments, about 15 minutes or so. So we're going to adjourn for lunch in about 10 minutes. But if you could make it, we would love for you to join us in the rotunda at about 12:15 to welcome several new Americans to be naturalized into the United States. If you've never attended a naturalization ceremony before, it is a very, very powerful event, and you're all invited. And thank you so much.
Good try. We are about to go on to the rules calendar. House will be at order. We are about to go on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 635. House Bill 635.
House Bill 635 by Representative Epps of the 144th. To be titled an act to amend Chapter 11 of Title 47 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to the Judge of Probate Court's Retirement Fund so as to increase the number of years of mandatory contributions to such fund. This bill having referred to the Committee on Retirement, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Bubber Epps to present the bill. Chairman Epps.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. I have today for you, it's from our probate judges dealing with their retirement fund. House Bill 635 by substitute does basically three things. In Section 1, it changes the required members' maximum years of dues payment from 20 to 30 years. In the second section, it allows active judges who have served beyond the current 20-year maximum to purchase additional years of service up to the proposed 30-year maximum. The cost of the prior year's service will be the full actuarial cost. Therefore, there is no cost to the retirement fund. The purchase of additional credits must be received no later than December 31st of 2016. At this point, there are approximately 17 judges that's eligible for this benefit. And as well, it increases the maximum number of years used to calculate retirement benefits from 20 to 30 years. The current amount of revenue generated from fines, fees, and bond forfeiture each year approximates $1.2 million. If this bill passes, the annual required cost would increase to $425,000, which is still significantly lower than the $1.2 million currently generated. Since the fund is sufficiently funded to cover the increased cost of the bill, there would be no requirement for the fund to increase collections, nor would the legislature have to be required to appropriate funds to cover the cost of this bill. No money comes from the general fund. All funds come from fine, seizures, and forfeitures. Mr. Speaker, that basically completes the bill. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
You have a question if you care to yield.
I will yield, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Martin to your right for a question.
Gentleman yield.
Sir.
I just have a question to make sure I understand. On the page with the bill, I'm reading from the state auditor, the cost of the proposed legislation will be at $311,000 for the first year in order to meet the concurrent funding requirements of OCG 47-20-50. Estimated cost includes $266 each year for the next 30 years. I thought I heard the gentleman say that there would be no cost. I understand. Do you mean to the state?
That's
can
correct,
the gentleman
sir.
just tell me, if there's no cost, what was the state auditor referring to at 311 and then 266 for the next 30 years? That confuses me.
All right. The employer contribution rate due to the increase of the legislation would be the 311. Before the legislation, the cost is 114,000. After the legislation, it would increase to 425. Does that answer your question?
You have another question if you care to yield.
I will.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Chairman Willard, to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To my friend, Mr. Epps, I heard your comments and I was questioning something that was said regarding the fines. You mentioned the probate court receives fines which amount to over $1 million, as I heard correctly.
Correct, sir.
Is that not money, though, that stays with the local jurisdictions, the county, and not to the state? Or that money doesn't get remitted to the state? This is for local fines and remain there as a part of the county treasurers, not the state treasurer. Is that not true?
Yes, so that money goes there.
To local government.
Yes, sir.
So, in fact, there is an expense to the state. You're speaking of that $400 and something thousand. There's not a fund of money coming up from the counties that will take care of that. That will be coming out of the general fund of the treasurer of the state. Is that true?
No, sir, that'll be coming out of the retirement fund.
Well, there's a contribution made by the state to that retirement fund out of the general fund. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's the money that we're talking about, the $400 and something, an additional $1,000 annually that will be paid into that retirement fund for these specialized retirements of the probate judges going up from 20 years to 30 years.
30 years, sir.
Is there going to be a 50% increase in their retirement?
That I do not know, sir.
Thank you.
You have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and we ask for favorable consideration to the bill.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 635 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 635. The ayes are 128, the nays are 28. Is that 28? This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 840. House Bill 840.
House Bill 840 by Representative Stevens in the 164th, McCall the 33rd, Green in the 151st Parish, the 158th, Smith the 70th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Title 12 and Title 27 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to the conservation and natural resources and game and fish, respectively. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Game, Fish, and Parks. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Economic Development and Tourism Committee, Chairman Stevens, to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring before you House Bill 840 today. I bring it on behalf of the film industry. As you might recall, a few years ago, in an exploding industry that we have with the film, we made exceptions for the Department of Natural Resources to film on beaches so that they wouldn't have to go through the long, protracted process of getting a 6-month permit to come in and film on our Georgia beaches. This is very similar to that as well. It brings in line the definition of what an indigenous species is to be used in film, and it provides a permitting process to do that. If you'll notice on the meat of the bill, it requires, of course, you cannot keep an indigenous wild animal in captivity. This bill allows it under certain circumstances and with rules and regs by the department to do that, and there's a permit that is on your page 3 that tells you what that is for a resident. Mr. Speaker, this will help the film industry to prevent upwards of 50 instances where they've had to leave our state to film these wild animals, and we've also added, at the request of the department, the definition of a feral hog. That just places 2 bills into one to save us another trip. Mr. Speaker, if there's no questions, I'll ask for your favorable consideration of the bill.
You have a couple of questions if you care to yield.
Certainly.
Chair recognizes Chairman Martin to your right for a question.
Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Since it's a feral hog, it's not true that, and Chairman McCall is not here, I feel like I need in his stead to ask a question.
Certainly.
Serious question. Is it not true that this is not actually more regulation? This is with these with this additional ability to get a permit, is not true that the folks are going to be able to do something that the law currently doesn't allow. So isn't it true that we're not burdening them, we're actually liberating them and allowing them to do something given requirement? So it's a liberating act rather than a restrictive one.
The gentleman's correct, and I appreciate the question.
Chair recognizes Representative Coach Williams to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
Absolutely.
What are touches?
I'm sorry?
Touches. Touches.
I'm not following the question.
Yeah. It's the teeth of a hog.
Oh,
is that what it is?
I suppose. Mr. Speaker, with that, I'll yield well.
Might be a good time to do that. Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 840 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. For what purpose does Representative Carson rise?
To make a motion. Pursuant to Rule 133, I ask to be excused from this vote.
Gentleman has that right. I'm not going to ask the... Never mind. The journal will reflect that the gentleman has exercised his right to do that. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 840. The ayes are 155, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 844. House Bill 844.
House Bill 844 by Representative Maxwell, the 17th, Jaspers, the 11th, Buckner, the 137th, Green, and the 151st, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 47 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Georgia Firefighters Pension Fund, so as to update certain provisions relating to determining which insurance premiums are subject to taxation related to the fund. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Retirement. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Maxwell to present the bill. Chairman Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 844 is brought on behalf of the Georgia Firefighters Association, Georgia Fire Chiefs Association, and the Georgia Firefighters Retirement Fund. Line 15 just codifies what's been used in practice. Property is rated by an ISO organization, and property rated less favorably than a 9 is not subject to the premium tax, which is continuing on. Line 16 removes an old edition of the fire suppression rating and puts it with one that's maintained on file with the insurance commissioner. Line 22, 23, 24, and 27 is just some cleanup language that the board asked for. Line 32 through 34 says that anyone suing the board will need to do so in the county where the board resides. Doesn't cost anybody any money, just a little cleanup legislation, and I ask for your favorable consideration. Any questions, Mr. Speaker? I'll try to answer them.
You do not appear to have any questions.
Very good. I'd ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 844 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 844. The ayes are 163, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 659. House Bill 659.
House Bill 659 by Representative Belton of the 112th, Dungeon of the 25th, Caldwell the 20th, Nix of the 69th, and others. Be entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 14, and Title 20 of the official code of Georgia Annotated relating to education accountability assessment programs, so as to provide transparency of financial information of local school systems and schools. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Education. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Belton to present the bill. Representative Dave Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring before you House Bill 659, a school transparency bill that will make you more aware of the $16 billion of education dollars that you are spending every year. The premise of the bill is quite simple. It asks local school districts to tell you how much money per school they're spending and then post that data on their website, if they have a website, using data they already have but is very difficult to gather. I dropped this bill last year. I worked very closely with the Department of Education for over a year. I've worked closely with the governor's office. Not one group has spoken against the bill, and the data we're asking for is going to be required anyway by the federal government with their new ESSA Act, the Every Student Succeed Act, which is going to replace the No Child Left Behind. I have a letter here from the Chamber of Commerce and another letter from PAGE, the teacher advocacy group, supporting the bill. The Department of Education greatly wants this data. Teachers want this data, and I believe your constituents will too. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last few years, you have given local school boards unparalleled flexibility, and that's a very good thing. But with greater flexibility, transparency is required to make sure we're not wasting that $16 billion. Mr. Speaker, I'll entertain any questions.
You have a couple of questions.
I'll yield.
Chair recognizes Chairman Tom Taylor to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, gentlemen, yield.
I will yield.
Friendly question. The premise of some of this is because we still have several school systems that are just absolutely refusing to comply with the transparency requirements, and those constituents don't know where that sometimes very large amount of money goes.
That's exactly right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall to your left for a question.
Does a gentleman yield?
I will yield to the lady.
Thank you. Is it not true that I've had issues with my particular school system in Clayton County when it comes to transparency with information on how the money is being spent?
I believe the lady knows what she speaks.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Wilkerson to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I will yield.
I am all for transparency. I just have a couple of questions.
Of course.
The CCRPI, I believe there's supposed to be a financial efficiency rating that they're given. Do you know why that has not been implemented?
Why the CCRPI?
No, the financial efficiency rating. It's my understanding that they're having a hard time tracking the data already. So
I believe it's because they don't have the data. The Department of Education wants this data, and this data is going to be given to them by this bill. That's why we're asking for it.
Okay. So even though the financial efficiency rating already requires that, you're saying that we need to add another bill to make them turn it in?
That's what we're saying, because a lot of this, especially on this per school status.
Okay. Does the gentleman further yield?
I'll further yield.
And I understand the DOE is for this, but there has been some question as whether or not they provide funding for training, because a lot of the school systems are in older computer systems. Will the DOE provide any training and funding for that?
They have said that they will.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Further yield.
Is that in the current budget?
I do not know if it's in the current. I do know they have a year in the bill that has a year to figure this out, the actual definitions and how they're going to do the training.
Thank you.
Thank you. I yield the well.
You had no further questions. Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 659 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 659, the ayes are 162, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 726. House Bill 726.
House Bill 726 by Representative Tanner of the 9th, Powell of the 32nd, Harrell of the 106th, and others. Bill to be entitled an Act to amend Chapter 11, Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to taxes on tobacco products, so as to clarify that certain charges are not subject to state excise tax. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Tanner to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring to you today House Bill 726 and ask for favorable consideration. Current Georgia law requires that a 23% excise tax be collected on the cost of tobacco for cigars and little cigars. Starting last year, the Revenue Department started conducting audits of cigar stores across the state. During the audits, they informed the stores that they would also have to pay the 23% on the cost of shipping and the cost of the federal excise tax. Up until that point, we heard testimony in Ways and Means that none of the cigar stores were paying it in that manner. This legislation makes it clear that if the invoice breaks out the cost of the tobacco, the shipping, and the federal excise tax, that the 23% will only be collected on the cost of the tobacco itself. During the subcommittee meeting, numerous cigar store owners, small business owners attended to support this effort, and no one spoke in opposition of this legislation. This legislation passed unanimously out of the Ways and Means Committee, and I stand here today and ask for your favorable consideration of House Bill 726. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to answer questions.
You do not appear to have any questions.
I yield the well. Thank you.
You do have a question. I'm sorry.
I'll yield.
Chair recognizes Representative Hawkins to your right for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Is it true that these taxes are paid upon invoice receipt rather than on sale?
That's correct. This is not sales tax. It's paid on the invoice.
So this is pretty onerous on someone that's not sold the product. May sit there for months, but it's already paid the tax, 23%.
Yes.
Thank you.
I yield the well.
No further questions. The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 726 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 726, the ayes are 163, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 870. House Bill 870. This bill was on the rules calendar yesterday and was postponed to the next legislative day. House Bill 870.
House Bill 870 by Representative Strickland, 111th, England, 116th, Meadows, the 5th, Dungeon, the 25th, Reeves, the 34th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 14 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to certain programs and activities under the Quality Basic Education Act. This bill having referred to the Committee on Education. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Strickland to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. I bring to you House Bill 870. The best way for me to describe what this bill does is to tell you why I filed it. Back home in Henry County in my district, I learned that we had two different private schools. And despite the fact they actually shared a cross-country track, they were not allowed by the Georgia High School Association to have a track meet. And this was simply because they were members of two different associations, one that our high school association let in and one they didn't. This bill is very simple. You hear that a lot. This bill is very simple. This bill says that if you have two schools that want to play each other in an event, and they agree in writing they want to play, that they can play each other. We're putting the decision back down with the local schools versus a big private organization. And a private organization no longer be to bully our schools, require parents to travel around the state with their kids to find a place to play a game. And parents no longer have to choose between what's best for their kids when it comes to academics and athletics. Our kids can experience high school athletics no matter where their parents decide to send them to school. And the bill also says, when it comes to religious expression, that an association can't arbitrarily choose which expression will take place. As long as the expression does not conflict with the rules of the event or the safety of the players, it cannot be prohibited. This is making sure we're following the rules of the game and not just picking and choosing arbitrarily which expression will take place. And with that, Ms. Speaker, I'll be happy to yield for any questions.
You have a couple of questions if you care to yield.
I'll yield.
Chair recognizes Chairman Benton to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
In your bill, you talk about religious items on the participants. Does this go back to the track person that had the headband?
Yes, sir. It was inspired from that event. And what we're doing with this bill is saying that, look, you're not going to make an arbitrary decision on the fly if you're an official. You're actually going to follow the rules of that event. So if the rules say you can't have something on your body, you can't have it. But if the rules allow that, you can't pick and choose what kind of expression will be on that item.
But the athlete was disqualified not because of what was on the headband, but because of the headband, correct?
That's my understanding.
And the referee had that option to make, and the athlete was told that he could not wear the headband, correct?
That's my understanding.
And he wore it anyway.
That's my understanding. And this bill doesn't change that. This bill says as long as you follow the rules of the event. So if what you said is true, this bill would still allow that. If the rules of the event say you cannot have a headband, doesn't matter what it says on it, you can't wear a headband.
All right, thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Peake to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, yield.
Yes, sir.
Representative Strickland, thank you for bringing this bill forward. I think it's a good effort and proud of you for doing it. Recently, since you've introduced your bill, the GHSA has actually taken action to address some of the concerns in this legislation. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
But those actions are not final. They were just, I guess, passed through a subcommittee and still to be voted on at a later date. Is that not correct?
That's correct. And Representative Peake, they actually were passed the morning of the hearing on this bill in education. And they were passed by a committee and it was not binding. And this bill will make sure they don't change their mind come April, and that also this never happens again in the future.
Right, great. Thank you for bringing it forward. Look forward to supporting the measure.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Martin to your right for a question.
Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure I'm clear relative to the event that inspired this. And I'll try to put this in a formal question. Isn't it true? I believe I heard the gentleman say that the runner was disqualified for wearing a headband. Is that what you said?
Well, there's different stories about what happened there, but that's what I've heard happen, yes.
Okay. Isn't it true that shortly after that, I was contacted by a number of people because of my relationship with the Georgia High School Athletic Association and membership on that committee? Isn't that true? And isn't it further true that I am aware that the disqualification was actually because there was a symbol on that headband? I may be using the wrong word, but an insignia or something. I guess what I'm asking, is it not true that it is not illegal to wear a headband in a cross-country meet in Georgia high school? And the gentleman that was disqualified for having something on it. I'll leave it to the body to decide if that should or shouldn't have been. But isn't it true? I want to just make clear that my understanding is wearing a headband in a track meet is not considered to be out of uniform.
And Chairman Martin, I'll say this bill will clarify this moving forward for sure. There's no debate left now to be had. If you have rules in place that say what you can and cannot wear, we follow those rules. Outside of that, you can't pick and choose the kind of expression you have on those articles of clothing. Mr. Speaker, I think other people want to speak on this bill. At this point, I will yield the well.
Your decision. You have other questions.
Well, I'll take one more.
Chair recognizes
Famous last words.
Chairman Dixon to your left for a question.
Gentleman, yield.
Yes, sir.
In the bill on lines 27, 28, 29, where it deals with competition with other schools, does that language limit it to scrimmage types of games, or is it envision a full competition?
Any type of game the schools want to play, but here's the thing: the Georgia High School Association still governs when it comes to power rankings and as far as how the games count, and so they still have complete control over that. But if two schools want to play, the schools get to choose the kind of game they want to play.
Do we have some idea how that's going to impact rankings and region play and all that sort of thing?
I don't think it'll have any impact on it at all because the High School Association still governs over that, and so I don't think you're going to see schools make choices to play games that would count that's going to impact their power rankings. This is really, I think, mainly going to affect scrimmage games and also make sure that two private schools especially, that want to play, that aren't impacted by power rankings, can still play each other. Thank you. With that, Mr. Speaker,
you have other questions, including the only former member of the University of Georgia football team in this body, but I'll leave that up to you.
I'll take that one, then I'm going to go sit down.
Chair recognizes Representative Douglas to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
On lines 19 through 25, does this stop us for competing in national events?
No, sir. That's a great question. It does not. It has no impact on that at all because we're going to let the rules of that national event govern. Of course, Georgia High School Association right now is complying with National Federation rules as well. They come down and govern our events, and those rules are going to control.
That's not what this says. Does the gentleman further yield?
I do further yield, but it does say that on line 23, consistent with the rules of a particular event.
Of that particular event, not the national event.
Whichever rules govern it, whether it's a national rule, a state rule, local rule, whatever rule that is, it's going to be consistent with those rules of that event.
Okay.
That's a good question, though. Some people have had questions about that part of the bill, but we've been very clear to the whole process that that's not what the bill says. We're still going to follow the rules of that event, no matter what rules those are.
Okay. This is in my county, and I do recognize that there is a need for this change. I just had a problem with those line items. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Others have signed up to speak on the measure. The chair recognizes Representative Dudgeon to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For 25 years, I've been a Georgia high school official, most of that basketball, the last 4 years football, so I have two jobs where people yell at me for a living. One is refereeing and one is politics. But I do want to comment on this. We have vetted this bill with Representative Strickland very thoroughly through education and talking to Georgia high school, and I do want to make a couple points. There are 7 pages in the National Federation Rule Book about football uniforms and equipment of what you can and cannot wear. This bill does not mean I can come out on the football field and put some big poster on my body because I want to have religious expression. There's very, very narrow exceptions in almost every sport for what you can put as far as a logo or a saying or anything like that. I do believe that Chairman Martin is correct. I don't do track and field. Headbands I think are provided, but there's very strict limits on what logo and what writing can be, no matter what it is, on any kind of equipment these athletes wear. What Representative Strickland's bill says is where the rules already allow some sort of logo or some sort of writing, that you cannot apply a religious test to that. But we are not creating open season where people are going to start coming out all decorated in all kinds of expressions. So again, very important. Every high school plays under National Federation of High School rules. Actually, Georgia and other states have very little changes to those. We all play under the same high school rules. And those already govern the amount of expression, because if you, forgetting a religion, if you let people come out with whatever they wanted written all over them, then you can understand that would be kind of open season, that it doesn't need to happen. So I just wanted to make that point, that we're not causing open season expression, but we're making sure that very limited cases where it is allowed for athletes, it's going to be neutral. And on the playing other events things, it is true, I do scrimmage games. A lot of times you have a very small school and is right next door to a big school. They want to play a scrimmage game. That's fine. But as Chairman Dixon said, This would allow a competitive game, like say let's say like a Thanksgiving basketball tournament if you wanted to combine some classes. But again, Georgia High School or GISA, whatever the association, is in total control of whether that game counts towards your region standings, towards getting the state tournament, towards power rankings. So any school would have to make their own decision about making sort of a side game that's competitive, knowing that's going to hurt their ability to get into tournament play. But again, you're just making plays there. One last point, and I'll yield for questions or yield the well. Georgia High School has a hard job, kind of like of us. They make a lot of people mad with their decisions about reclassifications and referees and stuff like that. And they do a really good job, and I appreciate what they do. However, in this case, I strongly support the fact this body needs to pass this legislation to make sure that these things happen. Representative Prince had a bill about magnet schools last year. I think that this body does need to, because even though they're a private organization, they affect all of our schools. And I think it's important that we continue to apply the will of the citizens of Georgia towards these matters. That, Mr. Speaker, if there are questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Other than that, I'll yield the well.
You have no questions.
Thank you. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the House Education Committee, Chairman Coleman, to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll only take a few seconds, but I want to just emphasize a couple of things. This bill and meetings with the Georgia High School Association took place for a lot of hours. We invited Gary Phillips, the head of the Georgia High School Association, their attorneys, with Representative Strickland. We met with them for several hours, talked about things, what we really wanted, what we were concerned about, schools being able to play, not to have to travel far. Remember, that's what we're after. And I appreciate what Representative Dudgeon said. We're not talking about playing out of their region. We're talking about playing practice games, playing games if they want to against other regions that won't count. But remember, the Georgia High School Association still governs. We don't want to take that job over, let them still govern, set up their rules. But this allows those students to play. Their power rankings can be affected, and they got to pay attention to that. But it's up to local control when that school wants to schedule the meeting. The one thing I do want to say, Representative Prince last year had a piece of legislation that we're doing with the new flexibility. We're talking about our schools. Move on when ready, allowing these children to move to college, allowing these children to go to technical schools. And we do not need to force a child to pick between academics and athletics. Just like Gwinnett Math Academy, the Augusta magnet schools. These children, we want them to be able to go there and come back to their home schools and participate, not just in athletics, in band, in debate, in swimming. And I want to say, I appreciate the Georgia High School Association did say, we've already met, we had a conference call on the phone, our executive board agreed to allow schools to play each other, be governed as far as religious or any kind of quote on uniforms by the national and their rules, and they're going to allow these magnet schools to go ahead and allow these children to play. I'm already getting calls from people, and that's true. They'll be able to come back and play. I want us to move this bill on, though, people. Let's move it. Let's get it through. Let's pass it, because they don't meet till April. And we want to see that we have it sitting there. So I ask your favorable vote yes on this piece of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on House Bill 870? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 870 will vote aye. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 870. The ayes are 136, the nays are 25. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 509.
House Bill 509 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, Stevens the 164th, Tankersley the 160th, Hitchens the 161st, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to healthcare facilities so as to implement initiatives to improve quality and delivery of patient-centered and family-focused palliative care in this state. This bill having referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Petrie to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I understand that I stand between this body and lunch, so I think I will keep this short and sweet. This bill, House Bill 509, is a priority for the American Cancer Society. It did pass unanimously out of Health and Human Services. This bill creates a palliative care advisory council for the Department of Community Health. That council is a 9-member council appointed by the commissioner of private sector experts in the field of palliative care. This is an attempt to see that we have experts in palliative care focus on a really new and innovative area of medicine. We are growing older than ever before in our history, and therefore we have more people who are suffering with chronic disease in our country. And by the way, we're not only talking about older folks, we're talking about children and young people who suffer for many years with ALS, Alzheimer's, and of course cancer and so many other illnesses. At any rate, let me just tell you very briefly, this bill is really a focus on quality of life rather than quantity of life. And there is evidence clearly that palliative care actually has not only an impact on the quality of individuals' lives, but it actually reduces costs for taxpayers by helping patients to avoid unnecessary costs and procedures. And so commissioners come and go, but this bill will require that our commissioner of DCH have a constant body of private sector individuals who are experts who advise him on issues of palliative care, which is basically encouraging him to understand where we're advancing and how we deal with people as they deal with suffering and managing long-term chronic illness. At any rate, Mr. Speaker, I yield to any questions.
You have several questions.
Okay.
You yield?
I yield, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Dudgeon to your right he waves. Chair recognizes Representative Bentley to your left for a question.
Yes, sir. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Is it not true that I represent a lot of small rural communities in this state?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. I believe you do.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Yes, ma'am, I yield.
You mentioned in your comments about appointments to this advisory council. I certainly hope that during the appointment time that individuals from small rural communities in this state is considered to be a part of that advisory board. Thank you.
I share the representative's concern. I will tell you that Southwest Georgia, when you look at the availability of palliative care, there is just a dearth of specialists. We need to make sure that everybody in Georgia has these services that are available and accessible to them. And that is not the case today. Predominantly, they're around Atlanta. Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, I yield for any other questions.
Chair recognizes Chairman Welch to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Is it not true that the commissioner can appoint a subcommittee within the department to review this without setting up a new council?
Absolutely, he can. He can do so. He hasn't done so. And I will just say this a little further. Having worked with the department for well over 26 years, there are a lot of areas where the department does not seek out private sector input. And I think that is unfortunate. And I think that the public loses from missing out on that private sector input. You can't only have the bureaucracy involved. They need to be hearing from private industry. Thank you, sir, for your comments. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Chair recognizes Representative Randall to speak on the bill. Representative Nikki Randall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I rise in support of House Bill 509. For many years, I've worked in and out of long-term care and for different organizations, and you find that you learn something new every day if you're looking to learn something. And when Representative Petrie talked to me about this bill, and I think it was the Cancer Society as well, I didn't even realize that, because when you think about hospice and end of life, you just assume that palliative care is a part of that plan. Well, sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. And then it's different ways that it's administered depending on the company, depending on the facility. And I just want to applaud Representative Petrie, because this will allow for a group of folks that have expertise in palliative care to come together, bring up best practices, stay in front of what's new out there in palliative care that we can offer our citizens, because our ultimate goal is to offer them comfort when they're critically ill. So this bill will allow for that. I believe that it will be beneficial to our citizens as they age and those that are dealing with chronic disease. It will streamline the process and let the right hand know what the left hand is doing in the industry and how we are delivering this palliative care. It's vitally important for quality of life, because there's no need in living if the quality of life is at a point where a person is in so much pain and agony at all times. That's no way to live. And I think that this is a good idea. I hope that you all will take a look at it and offer House Bill 509 a favorable vote in this measure. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 509 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 138. The ayes are 100 on House Bill 509. The ayes are 138, the nays are 23. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. If you have an announcement and have not signed up, now is the time. Down at the rostrum is the place. Clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolute. What purpose does Representative Prince rise?
Mr. Speaker, I move, sir, that House Bill 938 be moved from the Committee on Ways and Means to the Committee on Judiciary. Both chairmen are in agreement.
Gentleman has moved that House Bill 938 be withdrawn from the Ways and Means Committee and committed to the Judiciary Committee. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 938 by Representative Prince and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4, Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to tax sales so as to provide for maintenance of the property so sold.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 938 be withdrawn from the Ways and Means Committee and committed to the Judiciary Committee, is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. The clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions. The clerk will read.
Commending Noah Wilson, Grayson High School's 2016 star student. Recognizing and commending the 2015 Morgan County High School softball team. Commending the Johnson Ferry Christian Academy. Recognizing Sheriff Janice G. Magnum. Recognizing and commending the Georgia State African American Chamber of Commerce. Commending Miss Martha Nelson Jones of Terrell County, Georgia, an educator and motivator. Honoring kinship caregivers in the state of Georgia. Recognizing United States military Purple Heart recipients and dedicating a portion of a highway in their honor. Commending Kevin Rathman, Cliff Bramble, and Kirk Parks on being named Georgia Restaurateurs of the Year. Recognizing the Emory Scholars Program. Recognizing Dr. Mary Spraker. Recognizing February 24, 2016 as Valdosta State University Day at the Capitol, and commending student leaders at Valdosta State University. Recognizing Mariah Carter. Recognizing and commending Dr. Paul L. Walker. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privileged resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. We have a birthday today, but I think the honoree has taken leave of us. Maybe the celebration has already started, but when you see him, wish Representative Kevin Tanner happy birthday greetings today. Representative Tanner. House will continue to be in order. We're taking up announcements. Chair recognizes Chairman Reinders for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, everyone. Today at 2 o'clock, we will have a full hearing, several bills for governmental affairs, room 406 of the LOB. That's at 2 o'clock. Look forward to seeing you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Gerald Green for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is to the members of the Code Revision Committee. We will still be meeting at 2 o'clock in room 415. 2 o'clock, room 415, LOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Golick for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Judiciary Non-Civil will meet as scheduled in half an hour at 1:30 p.m. in room 132 of the Capitol. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Ron Stevens for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Public Finance and Policy Subcommittee on Ways and Means will meet at 1:15 in room 133. 1:15, room 133.
Chair recognizes Chairman Barbara Sims for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Those members of state properties who are going on the tour, please meet at the Guard Shack at 1:45. We're going to be really pushed for time, so please don't linger. Be at the Guard Shack at 1:45. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Welch for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Public Safety Subcommittee on Appropriations will be meeting in CLOB 515 at 3 o'clock. 515, 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Shaw for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rural Caucus lunch will be as soon as we can get across the street at Department of Ag, have all the folks to address the broadband issues in rural areas. Also, full Industry and Labor Committee will meet today at 3 o'clock in 506.
Chair recognizes Chairman Lynn Smith for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of the House. This is an announcement for tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, room 606 CLOB for Natural Resources Committee meeting. Thank you.
We will be doing page photographs at the rostrum immediately upon adjournment or recess. If you have pages here today, then be lining up with them. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand in recess until 4 p.m., at which time we will stand adjourned until tomorrow morning, Thursday, February the 11th, 2016, at 10 a.m.
The Majority Leader has moved that this House be in recess until 4 o'clock p.m. today, at which time we would stand adjourned until Thursday, February 11 at 10 o'clock a.m. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. This House is in recess until 4 o'clock p.m. today, whereupon we will then be adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday morning.